Jose Mejia. I'm part of team number one of class called Agile Management of Software Projects. And I'm going to talk about novel hybrid model integrating Scrum and XP. Okay, the first part about it is that Scrum doesn't provide any direction about how to engineer a software product. The project team has to adapt suitable agile process model for the engineering of software, and in this case, XP process model is mainly focused on engineering practices rather than management practices. Um, Something more descriptive about it is that Agile framework is based on iterative software development and independent working model is built and integrate after the completion of the release. On the other case, Agile software development methodologies emphasize on developing working software after each iteration. Um, Agile development methodologies are based on such principles that facilitate a development team to build software in quick time. And the main agile process model are string programming that XP refers, Scrum, feature driven development that is VDD, Rational Unified Process, RUP, Dynamic Systems Development Method, DSDM, Adaptive Software Development, ASD, and Open Source Software Development, that is OSSD. And in this case, we have more information about it that I can say in before. Agile framework is based on interactive software development, and basically it refers to the principal characteristics about Scrum and about the Agile methodologies, and how these kind of methodologies can improve a lot your skills in programming and how you perceive the the whole software process. And obviously it is very important for many companies and for many development software teams, and it's a very important practice that you can maintain in close to you. In other words, for example, we have that Agile project management with Scrum is derived from the best business practice in terms of productivity and quality. Scrum is extremely beneficial for an organization because it improves existing engineering practices. And for example, you can combine the agile practice or the agile methodologies with the conventional methodologies that we know, like for example the iterative model, like example, and maybe the PSP, the process software personal, and more or less, sorry, personal software process. And for example, Scrum practices can also be successfully applied for distributed projects. In this case, is very important and very efficient and very useful for many companies that you can distribute the whole world for many teams or for many groups of people. For example, if you have a team that only have the work for the design or for the code or for the management properly, is better that you can use Scrum. And sprint technique is suitable for distributed teams, especially in the beginning of a project. And it is very useful because when the requirements change during the whole process, of development of the whole process of development the product or the process. You can change many requirements, and for example in the conventional techniques or maybe in the conventional methodologies, it could be very dangerous if you change the requirements, for example in the middle of the process. But in the Scrum is it is very easy, and you can only add requirements or change the exits, and you also have the possibility for to for do this in a correct way if is necessary for the project. And it's very interesting because you know you don't need to change the whole world on the whole work that you have done since this um, time, for example. And Scrum development methodology is an interactive and incremental process for product development, and also when the requirements are vague or ambiguous, you can change, like I mentioned before. And something very important about it is that the model concentrates on software project management practice, and it does not describe how to engineer a software product. And the purposes hybrid model is an extended version of a Scrum methodology. The idea behind the proposal of hybrid process model is that the Scrum provides a very effective project management framework. The existing Scrum does not provide any clear guidelines or the steps about Sprint Zero to follow, and the whole process is left over to an organization to adjust according to new needs. The beauty of the hybrid process model is that it is a full flavor of product engineering capabilities along with product management potential. For example, we have a image that describes it very well. For example, if you have the design, um, you can change in an easy way to the coding and also the testing. But obviously, the first step for this kind of product or projects and any kind of projects and any methodology that you are following is that you need to do a plan. And the most important thing about Scrum is that this could be iterative, and in this way you can combine many things about it like XP and follow the correct rules for achieve the goal that you need to concentrate. For example, the process of planning, sorry, is the first step of a sprint development cycle. Planning involves the definition of the system being developed, and the tasks defined in the sprint backlog are planned for development. The tasks are sequenced of the basis of priorities and dependencies on assigned or to be concerned developers. The planning phase requires close iteration among Scrum Master, Product Owner, and Scrum team. The design focuses on current requirements items, and in the design phase, for example, two types of diagrams are developed from tasks of a Spring backlog. These diagrams include class diagrams and object diagrams for testing purpose, test classes, and also designing. It is very important because if you uh, don't do in a efficient way or a correct way the design of the software, it could be very difficult for the development and to do the task that the software need to achieve. Um, like I mentioned, for terms of texting is very important also. Um, Okay, the process of coding requires coding standards, OpenShips, programming, and continuous integration. Coding process needs continuous testing and refactoring. This code should be writing first before writing source code, and code of the whole application is written using pair programming technique. The process of testing is started in the early phases, even before writing code. This process aids the programmer to understand problem. Daily Scrum meeting is conducted on regular basis. The duration of this meeting is like 15 minutes. The main participants are Scrum Master, Product Owner, and Developer team. Like I know since the the first time in the course. And the basic purpose of conducting case study is to build a system following the purposes model. The team members have developed their terms projects and they have good experience of software development. Their training involves the main Scrum practice were introduced to the team include Sprint Zero, product backlog, sprint backlog, sprint planning meetings, daily Scrum meetings, sprint review meetings, and sprint retrospective. And agile development methodologies are popular in the software industry due to efficient delivery of quality software. These methodologies focus on customer requirements and company objectives. Scrum and XP are one of the widely practiced agile development methodologies. XP and Scrum contain good features, but they also have some limitations. Scrum does not provide much more about how to engineer to produce while XP lacks in management practice. And like I mentioned to the beginning of the this video, you can you can combine some methodologies that brings you a better management about the process in general. But it's very important that you understand the risks and the limitations of each methodology. Obviously, any methodology isn't perfect or aren't perfect because it's very difficult for a whole team follow a standard or maybe follow a specific rule or a specific task. But when you combine certain things about mm, principal methodologies that you have followed um, since you started to programming or something like that is very useful for you to do this, and obviously it's very important for us like software engineers. um, the conclusion about it is that it's very important that you understand very well your project and your process for make your own steps to follow and achieve the specific goal or the specific system that you can develop. And Scrum is a very interesting technique and very interesting uh, tool because you can combine it with many things that you knew before. So it's very useful for any project or the most projects. So thank you for watch this video and see you later.